Hello everyone. I haven't ever given a video on a speaking cue card, and I think this is an apt opportunity to speak about an occasion when my vehicle broke down because I'm just going back from that situation. You can see here that the mechanic did not put the casing back, so it's all in a very basic state here. It's like driving a primitive put together car here. I'm not going to comment on that in the speaking as I have only 2 minutes to complete the task, but that's the scene at present. So today I'll be giving you a sample speaking of an occasion when the vehicle in which I was traveling or you were traveling broke down. I usually ask my students to organize the subparts into introduction, that is setting the scene. The introduction would be what went where, and then you move to the body where you layer the different pieces of information or maybe give the sequence of what exactly happened. And finally, conclusion where you wrap up the talk, giving your feelings or looking at the future. Essentially, you give your reflections. It's important to give a logical progression of ideas irrespective of how the sub-questions are arranged. So, before I start, you know that it's something that happened today, but I'll be saying that it happened on my last trip, alright? Please notice the different stages of the talk. So let me start. I'd like to speak about an occasion when my car broke down. This happened a week ago when I had thought about taking my daughter out because she had just finished her exams and I thought it'd be relaxing for her to go to a waterfall. So we started in the morning somewhere around 10. It was a scenic drive through lush green plantations, scenic areas. We drove a long way enjoying the greenery and the captivating scenes. It was drizzling. We could see the leaves blowing in the wind, and that was indeed quite an enthralling sight. All that was fun. On the way, we suddenly spotted a river. We spotted it slightly late, so I thought I'll just turn the car so that I could park it on the grass by the road. Unfortunately, I didn't make much of a stone there. I failed to recognize that it was a survey stone. Nor did I consider that the ground might be boggy and the tires might sink in. And unfortunately, my calculations did not come off correctly and my car got stuck. As it won't go over the stone, I tried to take it in the reverse, but the tire kept on rotating and sunk more and more into the muddy soil. So I had to call some of the people around and they tried the reverse, but my car wouldn't budge. We pushed it out of that situation, of that sticky situation, put it on the road, but there was a problem. The reverse gear wasn't working at all, and the gearbox felt like jelly. We thought about calling a mechanic, but it was a Sunday and all the shops were closed. Luckily, one of the guys knew of a mechanic and he called him up. He was not, of course, there at his shop. So he said he will come with his tools, and that, of course, meant another hour's wait. Which, however, we spent enjoying the river and exploring it a bit, guided by the locals. Finally, the mechanic arrived. He found out the problem that a bush had broken off in the gearbox. So the mechanic temporarily fixed it with a wire. And then we were able to drive back home safely. So on the whole, it was quite an experience. At the time, it was totally frustrating because we couldn't go to the waterfall that we had planned to go. We thought of coming back because we had spent like 2-3 hours waiting for the mechanic, for some ideas to pop up. We had even called home and we had asked if there would be recovery to tow the car. We had thought of all kinds of things in the meanwhile, and at that point of time we were in no mood to go to the waterfall. But I do believe that despite all these problems that we faced, it was quite a learning experience. We realized that we should have the number of someone who could come rushing and help us through, and we should have the phone number of a mechanic who can be available even on a Sunday. So I think that is something I learned from this situation, and I'll sure be careful to jot down some 2 numbers for a rainy day. So that's the end of the speaking. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned some kind of organizational skills from this. The introductory part, the main body, and the feelings or reflections. I know the talk ended up being more than 2 minutes, but I just wanted you to have an understanding of a full-fledged expansion of these 3 parts. In the real exam, either your intro might be shorter, or the body, or the conclusion, and you have to make do by extending the other parts. The story here was too long, and I might only be able to say very little for the conclusion. I would probably be saying, on the whole, you could say that this was a disturbing experience, but we learned a lot from it. But typically a story may not have this kind of build-up. You might possibly be saying about a leak in the radiator, how your car stopped in the middle of nowhere, that some locals opened the bonnet, found that there was no coolant in the radiator. They filled it with water, and then I took it to a workshop. I hope you noticed the situations where I used past perfect. It was whenever I broke the sequence in which things happened. I had also referred to the future. I've used some phrases and idioms. I hope you noticed them. I could have used present perfect in my introduction if my introduction wasn't already going to be long. It's not very often that my car is broken down. This is just the second time. This hasn't happened too frequently. In fact, this was just the second occasion. Till I see you again. Bye-bye. So on the whole,
200 meters, turn left on Vodupuja-Udabanor Road.
Okay. So on the whole,
Continue on Vodupuja-Udabanor Road for 5 kilometers.